know, ABCDs, right? American-born, confused, desis. It's still around today, folks, but most of us are not confused anymore. Most of us now would call ourselves ABCDs, American-born, confident, desis.
But I want to continue this, I want to tell you that Washington Post took notice. Within about 3 months, Washington Post started writing good stories about India. And that was a turnaround. It was not because of me. I want to tell you, it is because of the people who appeared on the show. They could see these are intelligent people. That was the time that it was. 9 channels, we were being looked at almost from every angle. I also want to tell you that the business community, the birth of business community here in Washington, D.C. actually took place right here. Reggie Agarwal, who started the Indian CEO, the very first time he ever went on television was right here.
Tell us a little bit about Indian CEO. I know we have done quite a few stories from our perspective. Let us hear from you. What do you think of Indian CEO? Where were you 3.5 years ago with it and now?
Well, first, I want to reflect back on the past because I want to thank Darshan Studios because the first time we actually threw an event, I remember you were the first person to kind of cover it. So you probably watched the council grow, and more importantly, me as a person is kind of interesting because last time I was in here about 3.5 years ago, we threw an event, but the council has really evolved, as you know. We started it in '97. It was Sanju Bansal, who's the co-founder of MicroStrategy. The two of us founded it, and it was a very informal group in the beginning.
And he talked about Indians. And to his credit, I want to tell you between him and Sanju Bansal, those of you who know MicroStrategy, he's a COO there. He's a philanthropist and a great businessman today. But at that time, these two kids, I would call them, they started this Indian CEO. It was so powerful that the Thai organization that was born in California wanted to approach them. And here's Reggie saying, I want you to call your organization Indian CEO. And they were saying, look, there may be a life more to Indus. Indus means we can add a few more countries. And Reggie was saying no. Until today, the Thai that is here is known as Indian CEO Thai. The CEOs will appear on Darshan television, and they will be approached by the entire community, including Reggie and this circle group.
2 very important things there. Darshan gave for the first time the ability for these folks to have a forum, to have a conversation, and for the community to get to know these people firsthand. When you watch someone in your living room every morning and you see them answering questions, you're observing how they are as a person. And you form that connection. You feel like you know them one-on-one. And then when you see them in the community, at least you feel a sense of, hey, this person belongs to my community. That was very, very important. And second thing is, what you're saying is for the first time, we were feeling a sense of empowerment. Right up until then, I don't think the Indian community realized its own power. And this was the genesis of us feeling empowered as a community to do something.
Yeah, and when these guys got together, the Indian CEO got together, Darshan Television was right there. We interviewed those people and then put him next week on the air.
What is Indian CEO and what are its goals? What is his business?
Just real quick, we have a 5-pillar model, which includes senior executive networking, younger entrepreneurs, charitable, political, and finally Indian, meaning stuff with India and South Asian region. The big thing I want to stress is that over time, in the next few months, you're going to see a lot of changes. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff with the younger entrepreneurs, a lot of mentorship. We're launching a charitable foundation and doing a lot of things. The important thing is to get the top executives together first, let them buy into it, and then now start leveraging their collective influence, power, and quite frankly, money and ability to mentor younger people.
What kind of jobs are you graduates looking for?
Well, I think the hottest industry, at least nowadays, whether you're a liberal arts major, government, English, etc., or if you're a business major like I am, consulting seems to be the hottest, newest industry. It seems like everyone's trying to get in all sorts of types of consulting. If you're computer science, you're looking sort of at an IT angle. If you're management science, IT. If you're doing finance, you can look at, of course, investment banking is always there, but there's also new financial management consulting that's coming around. So I think consulting is a new hot topic, and then on top of that, there's, of course, e-business consulting, which is exploding right now, and everyone's sort of trying to get a piece of that, whether you're a big 5 company or whether you're a small strategic consulting firm.
I also remember at that time, I believed in federal government employees. I invited a lot of federal government employees to come in and talk about it because I want to make sure that the community at large understands that the Indians are not only businessmen, but they also work and serve their country. And there were a lot of them. In fact, I remember I interviewed some of the soldiers that went to Iraq and the other places. And I particularly remember my hostesses. You know, it started with Nita Goel-Popoli. We covered a tremendous spectrum of this Washington life.
This past week, we've been watching the trials begin for the Senate impeachment hearings of President Clinton. And at the core of that, of course, is the crux of the matter, which is the lack of morality that led to something like this. Do you find that there are bases in our Hindu Dharam which say these things are not acceptable?
In terms of looking at it from the moral point of view, I think it is important for every individual and the leaders particularly to set examples of what are those important by following those the moral values. And
then Savarna Rajguru, with her, we covered a tremendous amount of business activities. She even wrote a book, IITians, and she invited almost anybody you know here in this studio, interviewed them, and of course put it in a book.
At Darshan, we always try to bring you the movers and shakers, and this week is no exception. We have in our studio today Muktesh Pant, who is the Chief Marketing Officer for Reebok International. Welcome, Mickey. Thank you so much for coming into the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Knowing a little bit about your background, I know you actually did your schooling at IIT. Do you ever feel like pinching yourself and saying, how am I here? I mean, this is kind of amazing.
I mean, the day before yesterday, I was in our office, and 50 Cent was there. And 50 Cent is possibly the coolest man on the planet at this time. He's the ultimate rapper. And I was asking myself what I was doing talking to him, because I'm just about as uncool as you can get. And but we got along great. We were talking at on completely different frequencies, but with the same end objective of creating something which would work. Sneakers, in this case, he would influence them, then we could design and sell them.
There were many co-hosts in there, and they did a wonderful, wonderful job. But those I remember, those who were here the longest, is Aastha. And she brought the best out of me when it came to politics. I want to tell you her passion. And she's an engineer and a businesswoman at that. You are such a great talent, Aastha. I really am praying that somehow someone will take you up and still let you go forward and pursue your passion.
Gosh, what can I say to that? That hits me where probably, it hurts the most, because this has been a love affair with Darshan. I have to say, when I first came on board, to be truthful, folks, I did not necessarily know or care that much about our community. Sure, everybody wants to be on TV and know what they look like. But what happened, folks, is week after week after week, I would read stories. And I would find out, hey, our community is doing pretty well. Wow, I didn't know India was doing this. Wow, this is kind of new and interesting. And I cultivated a love for this subject matter, for this topic. And I started to feel vested, and I started to care. And I think myself, as I look through over the shows, I see a change in myself, because I'm much more passionate now about these topics because I care. I want to see our community prosper. And sure, of course, the idea of being able to do this on a continuous basis is something I would love to do. It's something that I think our community needs. And there are those of us who are loyal to this show and have been for years and years and years. And I think for them to wake up every Saturday morning and not find Darshan at 9 o'clock on their dial on M8Z will feel very odd. And if there was some way to preserve it and to keep it going, I would be honored to carry the tradition of Darshan forward. That would be something that, would be a wonderful life legacy, as it has been for you, for me to uphold and carry forward.
By the way, talking about that, I want to tell you, it is hard work here, folks. It's not as easy as you may think. You have to prepare for this. And you have to make sure the timing is right, because it's not only you who's in the studio. You have a co-host. You have an editor. You have a producer. And you, of course, should have another person in the field. I mean, that's the amount of work that it takes. It's not something slapdash. There is nobody coming in here and doing texting or immigration thing or this thing or that thing, and you can do 6 of them in a month. No, this is fresh. I want to tell you, in all of those 25 years, hardly